Okay, so unfortunately, I can't play the whole clip because there's like a lot of music in the background. That's like the NFL like theme song type stuff. So like they have it playing throughout the whole time, and so I can't show you like that. So unfortunately, so I apologize for that. But I still figured I'd go through his top 10 storyline games because I figured it would still be fun and interesting. And there's some you know, there are some matchups up there that I really want to discuss and bring up. So I mean, first off, the Cowboys and the Chiefs. I mean, what are we doing here? Like that's a top 10 storyline game. Does 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 anyone actually care about that game? I mean, seriously, like that's a big game. That's like that. And he said it was because they're playing for America's team. I mean, it's really bizarre. It's really hilarious how we want to have it both ways here. Because if memory serves me correctly, all Nick did was cry last season, saying how everybody wants the Chiefs to lose, how they're the villains, and no one's rooting for them, and cry, 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 cry. And now he's saying, oh, but they're like the most popular team, and that's for America's team. It's like, what are we, huh? Like, what are we saying here? So like, that doesn't really make sense the Chargers at the Jaguars, like because of Justin Herbert and Trevor Lawrence. I mean, like what? I mean, there's no big storyline game for the Jacksonville Jaguars. There's just not. That's just not the NFL world we live in. You got to earn it. Trevor Lawrence has to win some games. He has to get hot. If he goes 9-0 or 9-1 or something, sure, like let's bring it. But going into this season, it doesn't exist. And I think Trevor Lawrence can redeem himself, and the Jags can be a good team, and all that stuff, and I want that to happen, quite frankly. But like, you have to earn that. It's not just magically there. There's no if someone said, oh, the Chargers are playing the Jags week 1, first game of the year, you ready for it? You think everyone's just gonna be just they can't wait? Everyone's gonna be talking about that game leading up to it? Like it's just not gonna happen. The Jets and the Steelers game, like these are some of the storylines that I also kind of live for. Because at first glance, you're like, Jets, Steelers, like what even is that? And it'll be fun if it is Aaron Rodgers with the Steelers and Justin Fields and stuff. Like I like those. Those are definitely kind of interesting. Those types of matchups can kind of speak to me. So I think that could be interesting. But that obviously has to mean that Aaron Rodgers is actually on the New York Jets. Then you have Chargers Dolphins, and it's like again, it's like I mean, I I I guess I don't like Tua and Justin Herbert. I mean, like those that what's the storyline there? Okay, they were both drafted, in the same draft class. Like, okay, and like I don't understand. And then the Bears, the 49ers, and he was like, "Oh, these two quarterbacks are under the most pressure." And it's like, I mean, and so because they're playing each other, that means something. Like again, like it doesn't. The Bears and the 49ers is not a game that I'm like, oh yeah, Brock Purdy, Caleb Williams, dude, let's go. This game's gonna be huge. Like, no, no. I mean, like again, and to be fair, to be very clear too, like these are games that I want to watch, and I'll be excited to watch them. Like I really will. And gonna be into it. I love football. I love the NFL. I love all of these games, and I'm gonna watch them and take notes and do all that stuff. But like, when you see a couple of these other games, like those are the storylines. Like if we jump to the Seattle Seahawks versus the Minnesota Vikings, like Sam Darnold playing the Minnesota Vikings and JJ McCarthy, like that's juicy. Like that's a big game. The Caleb Williams versus Jaden Daniels, that's a big game. A rematch from the Hail Mary game, and Caleb versus Jaden, who will be attached to each other, essentially throughout their entire careers. Like those are the matchups. Like that's the juice. Like those are the storylines where you're like, all right, there is a legitimate storyline here that we can talk about for days and days and days leading up to the game, and then after the game, we'll be able to analyze the game and add, context of the game through that storyline. I don't get that with the Chargers at the Dolphins. I don't get that with the Bears and the 49ers. Like, it's just, these are games I want to watch, and I think they'll be fun, but, like, just hits differently. And then the Titans at the Browns, like, this is the whole thing. Nick was like, oh, if Shador Sanders is the starting quarterback, and it's like, oh, gosh, what are we doing here, man? Like, I'm like, I'm not even. I'm just. I'm not even going to really say much about that. I'm not going to just be like, oh well, Shador Sanders is the starting quarterback, and then he's playing the Tennessee Titans. Like that'll be an interesting game. It's like, okay, well, wake me up when that happens. All right, I'll be there. And then the Chiefs and the Broncos. Like that's just a. If you're going to say the Chiefs and the Broncos is a top four storyline game, well, then it would have to be like the Eagles, Cowboys, the Commanders, Eagles. What are some other, the Ravens versus the Bengals? Like, that's a divisional game and a fun one. I'm excited to watch it, but like he said, it's all because of like Sean Payton has talked a lot, and he said that he was ready to play them in the playoffs or something, and it's just like, I don't know, I mean, again, it's their division rivals, and I can't wait for that game. Truly, Bo Nix, uh, you know, what's the other quarterback's name? Patrick Mahomes. I'm excited for that, but what are you gonna do? But no, the Vikings definitely, and then the Packers at Steelers. If it's Aaron Rodgers again going up against Green Bay, that's one of those storylines where they're gonna try to make it so much more dramatic than it need be, and I understand it. But like at this point, it's one thing if Aaron Rodgers was still kind of like in the heat of his career, in the prime of his career. If like if if there's a strong feeling that he's really can ball and be a top quarterback, then that would be a little bit bigger. But like this is his final song, his final dance. Like honestly, like it should just be kind of positive. And he's not even returning to Green Bay; it's at Pittsburgh. So it's just like that's a little different. I think it would be probably a little bit different if he was going to and playing them at Green Bay. Then you could be like, okay, like that would be kind of a cooler moment. I think it's a little bit differently when when like your old team is coming to your new, city. It's just like, it's not the fans, right? He's not going to be in front of the Green Bay fans and whatnot. I feel like they kind of missed the mark there, but I guess they weren't sure if Aaron Rodgers was going to be there because I feel as though the NFL probably could have scheduled that because that would have been a pretty cool moment and should be a positive and wholesome moment. And just like I am for kind of some of these revenge games, I'm also a sucker for like the return and where everyone's cheering and you get the nice little hand wave. Like I'm a sucker for that stuff too as well. So, but yeah, like I said, it's not like these games are bad by any stretch of the imagination. But yeah, I mean, I think again, like the Commanders Eagles rematch game, Eagles Lions, Commanders Lions. Those are all interesting games as well. But it's actually really funny because I got in a whole back and forth with I think he's a pretty big diehard Bears fan, and I said about some of the big games that they have coming for the Bears. And I said, right now the biggest games that I see on this schedule, the ones that will be the most emotional and really have like a lot of weight to them are the Commanders and the Bears and the Bears and the Lions. And I said, because again, you have Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams and they're linked together. You have the Hail Mary. That really also a lot of people saw that as like the beginning of the end for the Bears and when their season really kind of collapsed. And then of course, Ben Johnson returning with Detroit, he's going to want to beat his team that he just left, like all of that type of stuff. Like those two games are huge. Actually, now that I'm saying it out loud, like how that's not up there, I'll take that game. I'll take a Ben Johnson Chicago Bears team and the Detroit Lions game over the Broncos and the Chiefs, the Titans and the Browns, the Bears and the 49ers. Like what are we, it's like it's not even close. Like what are we even saying here? And so that's a huge storyline. And it is funny to see that up there, though, because this one guy was like, oh, how is it not the Bears and the Packers? Like that's one of the biggest rivalries in the history of the NFL. And I go, yeah, that's great and all. And that's a big rivalry. But like, that's not moving the needle as much right now. Like, it's just not, it hasn't been super competitive. Or at least like the games itself haven't even mattered that much. And there is not a strong narrative. And he's like, you don't understand. This is a huge rivalry. And I'm like, I understand. I get it, and I get it's important to Packers and Bears fans, but it's just like when those teams played each other last season, like not a lot of people talked about it. Everybody was talking about the Bears and the Commanders, and he's like, well, it doesn't matter what other people are talking about, and it's like, of course it does, and the players feel that as well. And the players all know that there is now this connection between the Bears and the Commanders. You're always going to have intensity with your division, with the other teams in your division. Like, that goes without saying. The Eagles always want to beat the Cowboys. The Cowboys always want to beat the Eagles. And the Eagles and the Giants, and the Giants and the Cowboys. But, like, right now, the Giants and the Cowboys is not that big of a game. And even in the Eagles and the Cowboys, which is a massive rival game, if the Eagles lost to the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl, the Eagles-Chiefs game would be so much of a bigger rematch and such a bigger moment than an Eagles-Cowboys game. And it's still going to be big. It's still going to be big. Again, don't get me wrong, but it's just the storyline, the narrative. It's just all those things kind of hit a little differently. But it definitely now, I feel like now that the Eagles beat the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl, like, people will be excited for that rematch as well, but, like, not as much. And so then it kind of does revert back to, like, all right, Eagles Cowboys will probably be the still, top 2 game on their thing. But I think for the longest time it was the Eagles Cowboys, at least for each other's team. And probably now, since the Eagles just played the Commanders in the NFC Championship game and dominated them, it's probably Eagles Commanders. If I had to guess, especially because there's so much energy behind Jaden Daniels being a top quarterback in the NFL, and of course there's plenty of people that believe that Jaden's better than Jalen, and there's plenty of Eagles fans that believe that Jalen is better than Jaden. And so, if I had to guess right now, the Eagles versus the Commanders will be a bigger game than the Eagles versus the Cowboys, which is not something that you would have been able to say for the last, like, decade or so. And so things change, that's everything's always evolving, and, one year it's this and next year it's that. So you never really know. But yeah, it is cool to actually look at these, like, actual matchups like this. Because when I actually really kind of think and reflect on it, I'm like, oh yes, like, this is what I do love. Like, I am a sucker for some of these narratives and these storylines. Sometimes I really am. I can get sick of it, and I'm like, I just want the game. Let's move beyond all this other nonsense, and I just want to watch the game itself. Especially when you're talking about in the playoffs, like like the Super Bowls, the Chiefs and the Eagles and Kelsey and the Kelsey brothers back in 22 and Andy Reid. I was like, I don't care about any of that. I just want to watch this football game. Nothing else. I do not care. Don't care what's at stake for the Chiefs, the three-peat, this, that. It's like, none of that matters. I'm just here to watch football. And other times, especially during the regular season, when there's, like, manufactured stakes, it's like, yeah, Jaden Daniels versus Caleb Williams. Let's talk about it. What does this all mean? JJ McCarthy and Sam Darnold, Vikings at Seahawks. What does it all mean? Like, that stuff definitely gets me excited, and, talking about it and unpacking it, is definitely fun for me. So I assume it is for you guys as well. But yeah, just seeing this list again, it's obviously I don't agree with them all, but it is starting to get me excited for the season itself, because, like, at least we can actually start talking about, like, real stuff rather than top 10 wide receiver duos, but or top 8 wide receiver duos, and Bill Belichick and Jordan, whatever the heck her name is. I think her name is Jordan. Well, is she allowed at UNC? It's like, I don't know, man. Who really cares what a 70-year-old is dating? Like, what? None of this matters. So we're one step closer to real stuff, but we're still 4 months away. But we're getting closer. We're getting closer. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about Nick's top 10 storyline games? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're all on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.